Hope you like this. If you do, give it a thumbs up and leave any comments below. And remember to subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date on all my hypnotic bedtime stories. So I hope you enjoy the story.
So as you listen to me and begin to drift comfortably asleep, I don't know whether you'll drift comfortably asleep more to the sound of my voice or the words that I use, or to the spaces between my words. And so as you comfortably drift asleep, you can let your eyes close and listen to this story in the background. And while you listen to this story and fall asleep, you can have a sense of relaxing in a bed, relaxing in the most comfortable bed you can imagine. Relaxing and falling asleep in the most comfortable bed you can imagine. And as you drift asleep, you start to dream. And while you start to dream, you find yourself in a garden, and it's night time in this garden. And the deeper you drift and dream, the more awake you become in the garden. And the garden will be waking up at sunrise as you drift and dream. And you're standing in this garden on a moonlit night. And you can see perhaps some of those clouds up there near the moon. Maybe the occasional cloud crosses the moon, and you can notice what the stars look like and pick out which ones are the planets. And notice how there's a blue tinge to everything, with it being night time in this garden. You can feel a cool, comfortable breeze. You can notice the rustling of the leaves of the trees as that breeze blows. Notice how shadows dance on the ground in the moonlight. And there's a little pond in this garden, and you can find the pond. And notice how the water ripples in the breeze, and how that rippling water catches the moonlight and twinkles. And you can see some of the fish in that pond, some just swimming in space, just staying where they are, others darting around. Being able to breathe in the fresh air and notice that cooler air as it passes into your lungs, refreshes, rejuvenates, that healing natural air in this garden that seems magical. And you know this garden isn't a typical garden because of that magic, because there's something otherworldly about it, something that makes it feel somehow special, enchanted, wonderful. A certain feeling of awe and enlightenment as you relax in this garden, noticing that moon slowly travelling across the sky. And if you really pay attention, you can notice the stars moving across the sky. And you can notice how those clouds move across the sky. How there's never anything that stays the same. Everything's always moving. And yet everything looks beautiful. There's beauty to the nature. And as you watch the sky and enjoy the garden, you know the sunrise will be coming soon. And something about this garden just helps you feel relaxed. And then after a while, you can notice that a part of the sky is beginning to change colour ever so slightly, from a dark blue to a tinge of orange or a tinge of red. And as time goes on, that gradually increases and gets brighter and brighter. And while that gets brighter, so you notice the moon fading, notice the stars fading, notice the nighttime fading, and the garden starts to take on some colour, from black and white and blue to shades of green, oranges, reds, to the most beautiful garden you've ever seen, with somewhere to sit in that garden. And as the sun rises, so the warmth starts creating a subtle mist in the garden, and you can feel the warmth on your skin, just as you notice the breeze on your skin. And notice how, as the sun rises, somehow the smells of the flowers increases, and you can enjoy the smells of the flowers, finding some familiar that take you back to happy memories, while others are unfamiliar. And you can be curious about the unfamiliar ones that just make you feel calm and happy. And as the sun rises, you start exploring the garden. You explore the flowers, leaning down, smelling flowers, touching petals, stroking leaves, holding stems of plants, putting your hand in the water of the pond to feel that water, recognizing textures, being intensely curious about your surroundings. And you can notice a bench in this garden that's in just the right location for you. And you can sit on that bench. And you relax on that bench and notice how comfortable that bench is. That perhaps the comfort takes you by surprise. Perhaps it's more comfortable than you realised it was going to be. And as you relax comfortably on that bench in your own way, I don't know whether you decide to relax with your legs up or down or in some other position. But as you relax on that bench, Your mind begins to wander as it gazes out over the garden, watching butterflies flying from flower to flower, watching life going on in that garden, perfectly content and happy. And the mind begins to wander, and as your mind wanders, so you start to drift into a pleasant daydream, into a pleasant reverie, where you enjoy some moments in your mind of deep relaxation. Something about being on that bench in that garden, in that surroundings, leads to you drifting into a deep meditative reverie, where you start to feel a connection with nature. You start to perceive this garden in a whole new way, as if you are one with the garden, rather than a visitor to the garden. And you have this sense of drifting out of your body, of floating above yourself, so that you can have a look at the garden, at your surroundings, and at your role and your part and your place in that garden, and how you are a part of nature, you're one with nature. And as you drift and float and dream and look around, you see a pedestal over in the corner. And you get curious about that pedestal. You notice on the pedestal is a sundial, and you decide you're going to have to go and explore that sundial because there's something unusual about it. And so you drift and float back inside yourself in that garden, and feeling deeply relaxed, feeling a wave of deep relaxation spread from your head, through your neck, your shoulders, down into your arms, all the way to your fingertips, down through your body, all the way down to the tips of your toes. A wave of relaxation helps to lift you comfortably from that bench as you walk through the garden towards that pedestal. And you see that sundial. Only you notice that the sundial is pointing in the wrong direction. And you feel a compulsion to turn the sundial round so it's facing the right way. And as you turn the sundial round to face the right way, so you hear movement, sound of stones sliding on stone and moving. And you look around you to find out what's going on and where. And you see the pond moving aside. That sundial was actually a switch. And the pond has moved aside. And you see where the pond was. That there's steps going down under this garden. So you decide with curiosity that you're going to follow those steps. And you walk down those steps deep under the garden. You follow those steps down deeper and deeper under the garden. And then they lead into a long tunnel, and you feel a sense of curiosity and wonder and intrigue as you follow that tunnel, and you get a torch out to light the tunnel, to light your way. And you follow that tunnel, going deeper and deeper, further and further, hearing the echo of each footstep, feeling the coolness down here compared to at the surface where the sun was shining, feeling a breeze blowing through this tunnel. And you follow the tunnel, and it comes out in a cave, in a vast cave, with crystals hanging down from the ceiling, crystal stalactites, and there's stalagmites, pointing in every direction. And there's some water flowing through from above, allowing a few speckles of light to shine in, which bounce around from crystal to crystal, lighting up the cave. And you see a waterfall coming down from near where you've entered this cave, heading down to the foot of the cave. And you see a path, and you follow that path down to the foot of the cave, down the side near the waterfall, with curiosity, not knowing what you're going to discover in this cave, or why there's a secret entrance to this cave. And you walk through the cave, touching the crystal stalagmites and stalactites, noticing how smooth they are, like glass. Hearing that running water and the crashing water from the waterfall, and feeling a little bit of spray from that water, some cool spray from the water, as you explore the cave, noticing how footsteps echo more down here, and what it feels like to be walking on the ground down here. Exploring deeper and deeper into the cave. And then you notice what looks like a panel and a door and a sign saying room of nothingness. And you get curious, you press the panel, a door slides open. And then the door closes behind you as you enter. And suddenly there's silence. You can no longer hear the sound of the water or any sounds from the cave. And even each footstep you take seems muffled, like whatever you're walking on just absorbs sound. And the walls of this room, in this cave, appear to just absorb sound so effectively that there's almost a total silence. And you start learning and having appreciation for the silence. Learning about yourself in the silence. And as you explore the silence, explore this room of nothingness, this place where you discover yourself, your inner potential, your inner wisdom, your true self, how to optimize and get the most out of yourself. How to get to be who you want to be in life. Something about being in this room of nothingness with no distractions helps you learn about yourself on a deep level with comfort, calmness, relaxation, wonder, curiosity, peace. Learning about love, compassion. And after some time in this room of nothingness, it's almost like the room is teaching you something. And then as the room teaches you something, when it knows you're ready, and you don't know how it knows you're ready, but when you see this, you realize it somehow knew you were ready. You hear movement and you see something rising up from the ground. You see a pedestal rising up from the ground, and on that pedestal is a scroll. And you go over to that pedestal and you take the scroll and you feel that scroll in your hands, and it feels a little bit more weighty than you expected. And as you pick that scroll up, you can smell the smell of that scroll. And you start to unroll the scroll, and it starts with the scroll of nothingness. And you have no idea what that means. And you open the scroll a bit more and read "Once upon a time." And then as you're reading, it's almost like the letters and the words are forming at the same rate as you reading, as if somehow you're reading, but what you're reading is being created at the same time as reading it. And so you almost struggle to work out whether you're just saying things that are appearing on the page, and that's why they're appearing, or actually reading what's on the page, because the two things seem to be simultaneous. That the words you're saying are appearing at the speed you're saying them. So you have this feeling like you're reading it. And yet also this strange feeling like you're the one creating this story. Once upon a time. And you feel a sense of familiarity with this scroll, with this story that's appearing. And it's quite a weighty scroll, and you notice there's a lot of paper to it. And yet when you unwrap the scroll fast to look down the scroll, you see that it's empty. There's no writing on it at all. Whereas when you open it slowly, line by line, while reading. You see the scroll writing itself before your eyes at the rate that you're reading. And if you stop reading and just open the scroll, there's no writing. The writing only seems to appear if you're reading. And yet you can only read if there's writing. And the two things happen simultaneously. And you know that something about this story you're reading is teaching you something about you. But you don't know what. But you know that what it's teaching you isn't important to know consciously. What's important is to read the scroll. And so, with a sense of silence around you, with a sense of silence in the room, you read the scroll to yourself. Once upon a time, and you just read and internalize the meanings and know that the scroll is communicating with the deep part of you for your health, well-being, personal development, personal growth, inner wisdom, peace, love, and deep understanding. You just don't know consciously what the story means. You just read comfortably through that scroll in silence. And as you reach the end of the scroll, so positive change begins inside you without you knowing exactly what the change is. And you place that scroll back on the pedestal, and the pedestal seems to automatically lower back down into the ground and disappear. And the door to the room of nothingness opens, and you exit the room, hearing the sound of that running water again from the waterfall. And you begin to journey through this cave, still taking in the wonders of the cave, journeying through the cave, back to the tunnel. And then you really take your time journeying down the tunnel to enjoy the changes in the sound between being aware of the sound of the waterfall and the slight echoey to the cave and the sounds of the garden and the way the breeze feels on your face as you find your way back to the garden. And then you go back out of that entrance. You turn that sundial back to the wrong way. And that pond slides back into place, covering that entrance. And you go and sit on that bench, and you just find it so incredibly relaxing that your eyes close. You feel so peaceful, so calm, a sense of harmony. And you begin to drift comfortably and deeply asleep.